So hello everyone and welcome to Anti-Gravity. This is me Satyam Shankar and this video is the second video of our CSS Grid series. At the end of this video we will learn how to make this type of layout using CSS Grid. Till then stay tuned and subscribe us. We have to make this layout. So first explore this layout. So as you can see here that I have, this is my first column, this is my second column, this is my third column. So this is the first row, this is the second row, this is the third row, and this is the fourth row. First row, second row, third row, fourth row, and this is the first column, second column, and the third column. So first of all, we will make the columns length, the columns width and height. So you can see that the header row and the footer row takes up less space as compared to navigation and main. So first of all, we will set up the height of the rows individually. So as you can see that the header and the footer take up the same space and a very less space. So if I just want to set up my space for my, so let me first set our grid template rows. So if I just want to, as you can see here that the first row and the last row takes up very less space. So if I want to give them space, let's say 5%, and let's say my second row, you can see that this first row and the last row takes up minimal space, and the second row takes up a little more space, and the main is the third row, which takes up nearly half of the space. So let's say my first row takes up 5% space, second row takes up 30% space, third row takes up let's say 50% space, and the last row, sorry, let's say it takes up the 60% space, and the last row takes up 5% space. So now if I open my CSS grid, you can see that the first row will take only 5% space, the second row will take 30% space, and the third row will take 60% space, and the fourth row will take 5% space. It will not come just now because we haven't specified the positions of the individual items, but we will soon do that. And onto the columns now. As you can see that the first column, second column, and the third column are different. The first and the last column takes up equal space, and the middle column takes up the main space. So if I just do something like it, let's say 20%, 60%, and 20% here also. So instead of doing that, can I do that 60%, 1 FR and 1 FR? Because as I told you in the last video, FR does what? It just distributes the leftover space between the number of columns and the number of rows. So here I am assigning 60% width to the middle column, and the rest of the columns I'm telling CSS to give them equal width. So after assigning 60% width to them, the CSS will automatically give them 20% width. So you may be thinking that whenever I just change the size, the layout changes. This is because I've added responsiveness to it using CSS Grid, which we will learn in the next video. So in this video, we will just learn how to make this type of layout. So as you can see that we have set up the column and the number of rows, and this looks a lot more systematic than it was at the beginning of this video. So now to set up the individual positions of each item, we have two methods. One is using grid template areas and the other it without using it. So first we'll discuss how to position them without using grid template area. So without using grid template area to position it, we'll have to give each of these an individual grid column and grid. So now to set up the individual grid column and grid row for our individual items, we will first have to give each of our items a class. So let's say I have give it a class of header. Let me give the navigation a class of nav, the sidebar S bar, main of let's say main only. Put ads, and footer also I want a footer. Now it's done. Now first we will move on to the header. So as you can see that the header in this takes up the first takes up all the three columns and the first row. So if I wanted to give it a column, I want to make it span all the columns. So there are two ways of doing that. The first is 1 comma the last column. Let's say it's 4 because I have three columns and 4 grid lines. I will tell you. You can see first grid line, second grid line, third grid line, and fourth grid line. So since I have 4 grid lines, so I have to give that start from the first grid line and end it on the fourth grid line. Or the other way of doing it is 1 comma minus 1. Here I am telling my this that start from the first and end it at the last. So minus 1 here means the last one, one from the last. Okay, so it will work fine with this. And my row, I want it to uh, to occupy the first whole row, so I will just make it grid row. Now you can see that it's occupying the headers. Fine, our header thing is done. Now the next thing we have to do is for navigation. So as you can see that here our navigation will occupy the middle one. You can see that it just takes up the second row and the second column. So what I will just do, I will just give my navigation a grid column of 2 and a grid row of also 2. Now you can see that it will work fine as well. Okay, these two things are done. Now the next thing is the sidebars. So you can see that this sidebar takes the first column and the second and the third rows. So as I told you that if I just use my .sbar property and give it a grid column of, let's say, the first column and the grid row, I want, you can see that it's taking the second and the third row. So I will just give it 2 comma 2 comma sorry, just 2 comma, and it's taking up till the last row, 2 comma 4. Now you can see it works really well. 2 comma 4, it starts from the first second grid line and ends at the fourth grid line. Now we have to do one more thing. It's the now we have to do the thing for uh, ads. So ads here takes up the last column and the second and the third rows. So dot ads, they will take up my grid column. They will take up my third column and they will take up my second and the third row. Now this will also work fine. Yes, ads will take up the good amount of space. Now we'll do for the main item, and the main takes up the third row and the second column. So I'll just draw my dot main class and give it a grid column of 2 and grid row of 3, and it works fine as well. Now the thing left is footer. It takes up the fourth row and the all the three columns. So I will just give it a grid row of 4 and grid column of, I want just it to 1 comma minus 1. I want to span all the items. So now it will work fine. But as you can, the footer here just overflows out of the container. And why it is? Can you just tell me why it is? So just pause and tell me. So the problem was that there was something to do with the height. I have given them very less height. So you can see that if I just increase the height a bit, I just increase it to 600. And if I you can see that. So the main problem was with the height, and if I just increase the height a little bit, it will work fine as well. So now you can see that our template is ready. It's just the ditto same of this, but this but the problem is that it takes up the full width and it just takes up the specified width. So I just let's remove the width thing and I will take up the 100% of the space available. Now there's no much to differ between these. Now the main thing that is just the color, so let's give them a color. So this one has a blue color, so let's give my header a color of blue. So where's my header, and I will just give it a background color of blue, and my navigation is of orange color, my sidebar is of green color, so let's give it a color of green, and my main is of, I guess it's of navy color, background color is navy, my ads are black color, and my footer is of purple color. You can also call it a violet color, but I like to call it purple. So now it's looking the ditto same like this, but only the text now appear because here the text are white and here we have given them black. So to make the text white, I will just do one thing, dot. This is the operator. It is used to target all the elements in an HTML page. So we'll just give it color of white. So it will just give every color, every text the color of white. Now you can see that it's looking the same as this. Now this was the first way of doing this. The second way of doing this is using grid template areas. So we will do the second method in our next video. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you.